Yes, yes.
I go to Egypt every year and spend several months.
I met Nadia before we started tonight. She bought a book, and she goes to Egypt every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you're saying.
And when I'm there, I am hooked to Al Jazeera in Arabic, which I understand, and it's my mother tongue. And I find the most interesting thing there is that they bring people from extremist sheikhs with moderate philosophers, moderate Islamic, and the discussion really gives you a feel of what's going on within the Islamic world, the Arab world. Would you, do you do that in the English Jazeera?
I don't think we do it as much as they do on Arabic. What she's saying is, the Arabic style on Arabic Al Jazeera is to bring experts on the topic, but they tend to bring them from the extremes of both sides of an issue, and then they let them just fight it out. They have the most popular show is called, in English I think it's This Direction, The Other Direction, or The Opposite Direction, or The Opposite Opinion I think maybe is the name of it. And I mean, you just haven't seen debate like this on American TV. Thomas Friedman went on it. And I've seen the video, and he says at one point, and the guy's just yelling at him from the other side of the desk, he said, would you prefer if I put a cardboard cutout of me here and leave so that you don't have to keep yelling over my voice? It's this kind of very rambunctious debate. And often when you hear the most extreme things that were said on Al Jazeera, it's not from Al Jazeera reporters, it's from one of these guys who come on this debate show. As a matter of fact, technically, it's what got Al Jazeera thrown out of Iraq. Is someone on that show, a minister of parliament, Iraqi minister of parliament, said Mossad was in northern Iraq operating with the Kurds. The person on the other side of the debate, another minister of parliament from Iraq, said that's absolutely ludicrous. The Iraqi government said it was unprofessional of Al Jazeera to allow such a claim to air and threw Al Jazeera out of the country. The secret reason was they felt Al Jazeera was inciting the violence in Iraq. That was over 3 years ago. I don't think the violence has gone down. So they may want to look at their logic. But they do this. And here's what happens when America decides not to engage with Al Jazeera. The beast goes on. News is a 24/7 beast, and it moves on whether you want to participate in the story or not. So they're going to have a debate about some kind of American policy. And the American government says, no, we're not going to talk to you, you're Al Jazeera. The military says, no way, we're not talking to you. They go to conservative think tanks in Washington. They say, we'll talk, but you have to pay us. Which news doesn't like to pay for a guest because it appears as if you're buying their opinion and paying them to say whatever you want. So they end up going to very leftist, very progressive think tanks in Washington that disagree with everything the Bush administration is doing. But their role, this person's role on the show is ostensibly to defend America against somebody on the other side of the debate that's going to be attacking America. But they're not going to defend policies that they have no stomach for anyway, that they completely disagree with anyway. So the whole argument comes out like this. And people watching it see that, thinking, well, there's an America that doesn't even defend it. You know, they come away kind of shaped by this argument, this debate. And that's one of the reasons I say it's so dangerous for the American government not to engage, is because the battle of ideas still happens. You just don't get to represent yourself anymore, and you may not like the outcome. Yes, sir? And then we'll come back to you.
The show in which you showed a clip of yourself going through the steps of selling the war.
Yes, Ben, The Art of Selling War.
Yes. Where did you learn that from as a Marine?
The Art of Selling War?
Yeah.
Oh, the reasons? I didn't learn it at the Marines. I learned it at Books A Million on DuPont Circle. I picked up a book called War Made Easy by an author named Norman Solomon. And the book, each chapter, when you open it up, is a reason. Each chapter is this guy's a modern-day Hitler. Chapter 2 is we're a benevolent nation. Chapter 3 is we care about the people of whatever country we're going to attack. And it went on down the list. This isn't about oil. On down the list, we're not occupiers. And I'm looking at this thing without having read the book, and I go, I've said every one of those. And now my privilege as a journalist is I get to call up whoever writes books I'm reading and saying, hey, did you really mean to say this when you said this? And so I called them up, Norm. So look, I got your book in front of me, and as a spokesperson, I actually said all these things. And we started talking about it. And We're friends to this day, actually, and I interviewed him for the special as well.
So when you said those things originally,
Yes.
did it just come naturally? Or was it
When I said the reasons, well, it didn't come naturally as if innately I wanted to say we were the benevolent nation. These were messages that are shaped by the government and passed down for the spokespeople to say, but I did believe them. When in uniform, I was never ever asked to lie. How much context you provide, though, is a whole different story. There's an entire gray area, and what I disagreed with what we were doing, one, I should have been speaking on some of the subjects I was speaking on, i.e. why we're going to invade Iraq at all. And then two, I think we provided way too much context and way too many facts. I mean, way too few facts rather than context. And that turned our job from being an honest broker of the truth, someone whose constitutional responsibility is to keep the military open to the media, i.e. open to the American people, because the American people pay for the military, so they have a right to know what's going on, as long as it's not confidential or classified information. That was my job. It took that and turned it into this political flack. It turned it into someone selling these political ideas. And they teach at the Defense Information School, where they train media liaisons at Fort Meade, Maryland, that you do not do that. That's not what a PAO does. The actual thing they teach, the mantra they teach PAOs is maximum disclosure, minimum delay, meaning you get out as much information as you can to reporters with as little delay or hassle as possible, and that's your job. But that's not how we were used. Oh, wait, I said I got this gentleman and then
Yes, thanks very much, Josh. There is an industry called export controls in the States.
And what?
Export controls.
Okay.
So basically, for the U.S. companies, they need to abide by export regulations on shipping dual use and full military goods. And there are internationally agreed upon conventions, if you will, chemical weapons, biological weapons, missile technology, nuclear suppliers, and that kind of thing. And we also teach companies how to screen against the terrorist lists and other bad people lists. So, for example, you mentioned the Sultan of Milosevic government. All of the entire government, or the upper echelon of the government, are on these lists. Drug traffickers and that kind of thing. So I happen to teach governments and also private companies how to improve their export control programs to make sure that they're not breaking law by exporting something dangerous to foreign nationals or people on some of these bad lists. So my question is two-part. First of all, have you ever done a story on this, or has Al Jazeera done a story on this? But also equally important is how widely are these principles accepted and practiced in foreign countries, for example, in the Middle East. In the United States, for example, ITT, a huge weapons manufacturer, was just fined $100 million. They actually talked it down to a mere $50 million, but still it's pretty sizable, for sharing technology on night vision goggles, sharing this technology with the Chinese. Boeing was just fined $47 million last year for exporting something that could control a missile, that hits you on the roll of a missile. But it's also used in commercial aircraft, selling those illegally, basically because they didn't get the license from the Department of State, and selling those to the Chinese. So we take it seriously. Japan, for example, there have been a lot of penalties recently on illegal exports, but other countries simply just don't have these concepts on even exporting the knowledge, which is very licensable as well. So I would like to know, the Middle East, of course, is of great concern regarding, the transshipment and just simply the export of these goods. Do people talk about this stuff? Is it really, quote, illegal? Do companies take these things seriously? And in fact, are there any denied persons lists like the United States maintains? The United Nations has a list, and the European Union has a list. Some other countries have a list, but really, for the most part, most countries don't, and they're supposed to be following the UN list of denied persons, but most people really don't know about this. Thank you.
Yeah, I've never seen a story on Al Jazeera about it. I think half the reason is probably because I don't think most people know about it. The other half may be because it's not very sexy for TV. But I have to say I am kind of interested in it. If you have a card or something, I'd like to follow up, because that kind of falls within my realm of the military purview.